A very good afternoon and welcome to the Royal College Sports Complex as we host the Blase Trophy. Royal College home to Wesley College this afternoon and not to Royal, who are obviously in Pallekele playing Trinity in the Bradby Shield as we speak. The Colombo skies are a little overcast, but the sun is still shining down, and hopefully we'll be able to get a majority of this game done and dusted before the heavens open. So Wesley were very unlucky in their last game as we had a torrential downpour against St. Thomas's. They couldn't play their running rugby game, and I think Kingswood too, who are a team that would love to run the ball, will be happy for the dry weather that we're experiencing at the moment. But it's going to be a game that is fraught with a lot of emotion as well. This Blase Trophy has been the trophy encounter, the biggest match for these two teams in their seasons, and 2014 and 15 we had Kingswood walking away with the trophy. 2013 of course the champion Wesley side taking it, so Wesley will want to pull this one back under Dayan Sabah, and given the seasons that they've been having, it looks like Wesley will run out onto the park as favourites today. Joining me in the commentary box, Paul Toya. Do you agree, Paul, that Wesley will be the team to beat this afternoon?
Well, on paper they're looking pretty good. They've done really good work this season, and they've lost a few games by a couple of points, but we've got to see who's going to win on the ground, and there's a lot of emotion here, and Kingswood will want to do well for the Blase Trophy, so they want to make sure they put up a good show.
Well, a man who has tasted a lot of Blase success is in charge of this Kingswood team. He only took the job a couple of weeks ago. Motilal Jayatilaka, one of the most respected names in strength and conditioning in Sri Lanka, and one of the most influential coaches also when it comes to making sure that he can motivate a dressing room. He's one of those men that Kingswood have turned to in desperate times. They dropped out of the top division in the Cup Championship. They're playing in the plate now, but this Blase Trophy will be a massive win for them in what has been a disappointing season so far, and Motilal Jayatilaka has been entrusted that job. But in a couple of weeks, what can he do as a coach, Paul?
Well, I spoke to him earlier before the game, and he said he's not happy with a couple of things. Being a strength and conditioning coach, he wasn't happy with their conditioning. He's going to improve that. He said their skills are almost there as well, but there's a bit of improvement there. But he's brought a little bit of belief, I think. So the boys actually believe with him on side, the bounce of the ball might go their way.
We've just preparing for the school songs and the Wesley College starting lineup. Captain, of course, in number 1, Dayan Sabah. Jayawardena and Mukti make a formidable front row. Sirivardhana and Jayavira, they are two enforcers in the lock positions. Asanka Hashan, one of the triplets in at the open side alongside Dias and Sashika Hashan Fernando, who has been one of their better players this season. One of the twins, Avishka Lee, is in at number 9. He'll have a lot to do with how this game turns out. Omar Dore is starting. Subair, who's also known as Dore, starts at number 10. Omar Kutuddin, their last year's captain, starts on the left wing. Danista Gunitilaka, possibly their next year's captain, starts at number 12 alongside the other twin, Lee Avantha, and Ranavira and Bahadin make up the rest of the back three. So a good formidable lineup for Wesley if they can get their game plan going. Amit Samarakon, the younger Sabah brothers, Saumya Shibli, Samuel, Asantha and Avantha Hashan, the other two triplets. Walpitage, the replacement fly half, who had a good game against the Thomases, and Vithanage make up the bench for Wesley College, who are currently being introduced to the chief guest. So that's the Wesley College lineup, who will be tasked with doing this job, and their forwards seem well drilled, Paul, and that's probably where they will be relying on this game.
That's right. They do have a really well drilled forward pack, but they also have a great kicking game from their number 9. Avishka, he puts an excellent contested ball up into the air, and if they can have the chasers on there, they can make sure they can get some ground and also put the ball in front of their forwards all the time, which is important.
Yes, that's very important for them to make sure they convert the kicks into excellent kicks. Here's the Kingswood College lineup. Vijay Surya, Alit Chandraratna, Udagala Hitiyava, who will be captaining this game. Ranavira, Senan, Malik Gay and Sirivardhana, the number 8, who's a little man, but he makes big yards. Veerasekara, Afla, Rasika, Madhusanka, Maram Gay, Nagaravatta and Seneviratna make up the rest of this Kingswood College side. Haven't seen a lot of them, to be honest. Paul has watched a bit more of them than I have. Paul, where do you think this Kingswood team have to improve? Is it 1 through 15, or is there one particular area?
I think the forwards are the area where they want to have some sort of improvement. Their backs have had a good display, and that's where their strengths are today. I'd be surprised if they don't try and move it wide and give their outside backs a bit of a chance to have a run.
Yes, Kingswood have been traditionally a very fast-running team. One of their coaches, also Chamara Vitanage, was one of the best centres that Sri Lanka has produced, and he will be very good on the basics. He's somebody who's very strict on the basics as well, was an excellent player in his time, so I'm sure he will instill that part of it into this Kingswood College side as well. But with the advent of Motilal Jayatilaka, a lot of belief, as Paul was saying, would be instilled into this Kingswood side, and that's something that you really can't measure, can you, Paul, that sort of belief? Because you look at St. Thomas's, for instance, who are top of the table. They played brilliantly against St. Joseph's and Wesley, teams that they were expected to beat, and less well against Royal and Trinity, who were pressure games. So it's all about handling that mental pressure.
That's right, but they just found a way to win in those games, St Thomas's, and that's the belief that you have from a coach. You can go through all your basics and your skills and that sort of stuff from Monday to Friday, but if you do that well, that can give you the confidence at the end of the game that can get you over the line.
Speaking of confidence as well, Sri Lanka beating the Philippine Volcanoes by just 4 points this afternoon. They were trailing by 20 points to 21 in the 79th minute of the game, but Jason Dissanayake scoring an outstanding end-to-end try to give Sri Lanka the win and giving them 2 wins in the championship, one against Singapore 33 points to 17, and this one against the Philippines 25 points to 21. So that's a testament to keeping on believing until the final moment, Paul. But given the performance against Malaysia, you surprised Sri Lanka managed to pull that one out?
No, I thought they would have had to wake up after that performance. It was like they were asleep. It was a pretty hard to say feeble effort, but it was like mentally they just weren't there. Maybe playing 3 games in 7 days doesn't help, but surely you're going into that situation beforehand. So if you're winning the first game easily, you're trying to rest players. Anyway, they would have had a plan, but it just didn't work out this time. So they'll be looking at those results, trying to review it, work out how they can do better.
Well, we're just watching the opening ceremony. The players going to congregate for a joint photograph. Now, this is all well and good, Paul, but these teams have been warming up significantly for a significant amount of time. And just before kickoff, you've got this sort of drop in the intensity levels. That's not good for the start of the game, is it?
No, that's right. The muscles will be getting cold. It looks a little bit like the FA Cup final or something like that at the moment. There's a lot of officialdom going on, but before the kickoff comes, you'll expect the leaders of the team to pull the boys in and just say, okay boys, now let's leave all that behind, we'll cross the white line, let's start playing, let's do what we need to do now.
And the news coming in from Malaysia is that Malaysia have smashed Singapore by 40 points to 13, which means that they win the championship unbeaten. They got 2 40-point scores as well, one against Sri Lanka, which is a little embarrassing, to be honest. 45 points to 17. They smashed Sri Lanka out of the park on Wednesday in one of the worst performances in a Tuskers jersey that I think many of those boys would have experienced. But they came around and turned it around on the weekend, managed to win against a good Philippine Volcanoes side. Paul, a lot of these guys playing their rugby professionally in Australia, in the States. So it's not a terrible team by any stretch. They did well to beat them.
Oh, they were very well drilled actually in the backs, the Singapore team. You saw a few moves that they did. The passing was very slick. You had players coming in and running different lines and running as a decoy, and they'd take out players, and it just looked very, very well drilled. And their skill base was really was there as well for everyone to see. But Sri Lanka, I think 2 of their tries they scored from behind their own posts, and they just ran the length of the field, and it was really cavalier champagne rugby that got them over the line.
Yeah, didn't really have much to lose in this game. If they didn't win it, they would really have been in trouble, may have had to go down to the next division. So Sri Lanka ensuring that didn't happen under the captaincy of Sudarshan Muthutantri. So it's congratulations to the Sri Lankan Tuskers, who managed to win 2 out of their 3 games in the Asian Rugby Championship. Still waiting for this game to get underway. We're just a couple of minutes till 4:30, which is the scheduled starting time. So nobody's behind schedule as yet. But it looks like this photograph is taking a little bit of time to frame. So these are the things, Paul, that sometimes organizers love to organize, but they don't really consider the players as top priority.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm sure they've done this before. They would have they would have had photos before this contest before, and they know what happens. So I'm surprised this is happening, but this is what's happening, and this is what the boys have to contend with. I'd be surprised if the coaches don't try and have a quick word to the boys before they run out. The referees are also getting nervous as well.
Yes, it is, Paul, and we noticed this last time around as well in the St. Thomas's versus Wesley game. We had a hold-up of about 10 or 15 minutes while they decided whether the jerseys were going to be changed or not, and that affected both teams because the first kick of the game was a 4-meter kick from usually very good Thomian fly half, so you can see how it does affect performance.
That's right, and maybe just a little bit more work by the administration to tighten all that sort of stuff up, and because it's really about the game. It's really about kicking the ball off and starting the match. Look, you can see the officials are getting a little bit jumpy. They want to get started. The players are all still in a line waiting for the game to start, and it's for sure it's going to affect them. So now the question is, who is it going to affect the least, and who's going to be on board straight away?
Who's going to be able to put this behind them faster? That's going to be the biggest issue that both teams are going to have to face in the first few minutes of this game. The overcast conditions are pretty good for rugby at the moment, but hoping to see the game being finished without a drop of rain. You think that's a little optimistic, Paul?
Well, the closer we get to 5 o'clock, 5:36, the closer we'll be getting to a bit of rain. But here we go with some school anthems.
Brings an end to the anthems before we kick off this very important trophy game for these two grand old Methodist schools. Both started in the early 1870s by the Reverend Blase himself, in whose memory this trophy has been played for since the 1980s. Joining us in the commentary box, that's Paul and myself, is Joel Tilakaratna, the captain of Wesley in 2014. Tell us what this trophy game means, Joel.
Well, it's going to be a very important game for many of these players because they are taking on the jersey for the very first time. So it's a big occasion for them. It's a matter of the players who keep their head cool and calm, and whoever executes the game well today will definitely win on the scoreboard.
Well, the Bradby also being played up in Pallekele, two very important trophy games for these schools. But at the start of the season, Joel, do you have one eye on this Blase Trophy as well, regardless of what happens in the season?
I believe so, because this counts as a very big match for all these players. So coaches pre-season, they talk about it, they train for it just as much as the league is big for them. They train for this, and I believe they were planning for it, they trained for it, and now it's time to execute. Now it doesn't really matter about the Kingswood team or who has done well on paper, but it's about the team who really comes out and plays today, and whichever team executes the game plan, they will pull off the game.
Looks like we're having a tiny haka being performed on the touchlines. And talk us through this war dance, Joel. It's a Zulu war dance, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us a bit about the traditions of it?
Yes, this comes from a very long time, and players take a lot of pride in this. And this was written from it comes from the Maoris, and players take a lot of pride. Even the crowd, every time you see Wesley scoring, you can see the Zam Zam Zake coming up. So it gives a lot of pride for the players, for the fans, and it's something very emotional and something that players look forward to, and the fans look forward to chant on.
Yes, that cry of Zam Zam Zaki will emanate from this crowd at some point. Whether it will be after the game or during the game, we don't know. That is for Zion Sabah and his Wesleyers to decide. They are going to be facing the challenge of this Kingswood team, buoyed by the belief that has been instilled in them by Motilal Jayatilaka, a veteran trainer and coach who has been drafted in to this Kingswood setup just a couple of weekends ago, and whether he will have had the desired impact, we'll see over the next 80 minutes or so. So Paul, we've seen a lot of things except rugby, and now the skies are getting a little darker as we wait for this game to kick off. Do you think that the weather will affect us today?
For sure. I think the rain's going to come at some point. But I think more important than the rain will be the adrenaline that all the boys will be feeling right now, and to see who can handle that the most. Emotionally, it's a really big game. They're coming together right now for a quick prayer. So it'll be the ones who can handle that emotion, harness it, and then use it and play with discipline and play the way their coaches want them to play. They're the ones who are going to start well.
The Double Blues from Walikada, of course, and Kingswood from Randalls Hill. Two schools very rich in tradition. The Methodist tradition, of course. We have lots of schools that come from Christian traditions which have sprouted up in this country. The Anglican schools, we've got the Catholic schools, and of course these two are two of the front-running Methodist schools here in Sri Lanka. One in Kandy, one in Colombo. So now we're finally ready, after everything has been done and dusted, to get the game underway. You could see both teams calling each other into huddles and making sure that they got their game faces on after all that ceremony. Rohan Fernando is the man in charge. I think he's recovered from that traumatic end to the game between Science and Isipatana, Paul, and he had a good game that day, and hopefully he will have a good, fast, open game today as well.
Well, the jury was out as far as how good his game was, as far as the spectators were concerned, but it's good to see him back again with the whistle in hand, and he's here to stamp his authority on the game. But what we'll be wanting from him is that he becomes anonymous. We don't want him to play a part. We want the whistle to be put in his back pocket and the ball to be spun around and played, and the joy of rugby enjoyed.
Well, Joel looks already nervous in front of us, and here's a short kick, but it's well claimed by Siriwardana, who goes off on a run. The referee will allow that, and that's the kicking game that Paul was talking about. A lovely up and under from Avishka, Has it gone a little too far? Yes, it has, but he won't mind that because it showed that Wesley's back three or Kingswood's back three have a few positional issues already, and the referee will come back for the penalty for the high tackle.
Yeah, that's right. They were nowhere to be seen, were they? There was no back three. I didn't see a winger, and it looked like it was a flanker that was the first one back there. So they'll have to address that straight away because that's a strength of Wesley, their box kick.
Yes, Avishka really is a good exponent of it, and we have the referee having a little bit of a chat with his assistant. I think maybe exchanged whistles there because his own one wasn't setting out. Joel, the first set piece, how important is this one?
In fact, it's very important that the forwards get their set piece right. I mean, this is the first scrum of the game, so both sides, both forwards looking to get their first set piece right. The three-quarters definitely expecting a clean ball. Definitely the fly half would be looking for a clean ball early in the game so that they could run off. We see a change of decisions by the referee.
Well, I think he did show the advantage for the high tackle earlier on. For number 1, that was Vijay Surya who made the high hit on Sirivardhana. So Dore or Suber is given the task of thumping this one into touch, and he does so. And the line-out has been a bit of a problem area for Wesley. Sasika Ashan is their go-to man. But they've got just the one option. And it's easy for whoever jumps against them to read. Jayavira and Sirivardhana, the 2 second rowers. But the number 8 is the line-out specialist here. In the middle of the line-out there, covered by your pennant, of course. But that's a good start from Amit. And Wesley will put this one together for the drive. This ground is familiar with the driving maul, obviously. And this is not a bad one, except that it's not from Royal, it's from Wesley. They've driven this one 30 meters already. It's gone to ground and the ball is now available. This is for Avantha. Kutubdeen gives it away to Ranavira, and Ranavira gets over the line for the first try of the game. Dinaru Ranavira took a bit of a smash as he stepped inside, but it was an easy try for him, and good hands from the Wesley College outside backs. Unselfish play from Avantha and Kutubdeen, who had come in off his wing, and Ranavira was the man who finished it off. So Joel, you must be a little less nervous now.
Yeah, feeling quite well, quite happy about that try. It was pretty basics. You saw Omar taking the ball, drawing in the man, and it was just taking one-on-one, and the outside back was quite open, and he just had to score, and he made immense out of it.
Of course, that was all set up by that 30-metre drive from the line out, and they just splintered the forwards there and ran straight through the middle, and it didn't look like there was much urgency with Kingswood. You saw a few players just hanging off the side and wondering if they should join, and they've got to understand that every second they're right next to the ball, that's when they have to be urgent. They need to get urgent with rolling mauls, or any time they're near the ball, that's when the urgency has to increase.
Paul, we've talked a lot about the driving maul, of course, but as a coach, how hard is this? Oh, that's a good kick. That's an excellent kick, in fact, from the left touchline for Lee Avantha, or Lee Avishka rather, and still can't tell them apart, certainly not on the screen from this distance. Just the numbers on the back differentiating them at this point in time. But Paul, how difficult is it to actually defend that maul? We go on about it, but there's really very little that can be done in the face of a good one.
Well, look, there's lots of things you can do. There's lots of little tricks that coaches have, but the key really is to get in and drive and defend it as 8 players, to be as low as possible. So that's knees being bent, hips being low to the ground, and drive together. And really, I feel what they need to do is try and splinter through the middle. You see teams when they try and push from the side, and that just pushes the force back into the middle. So if they try and splinter through the middle, low, and you might be able to get them to split apart.
So that's free coaching if you were listening. That's not a great restart from Jayavira. Knocked that ball on cold. And this is where you need to make sure you keep your concentration, especially after you scored. Come back and make sure you do it again. Joel Zayan Sabah played under you in 2014. What sort of a leader do you make him out to be?
quite interesting he was. I mean, he was a player who had a lot of heart. In the beginning, he had a lot of trouble getting inside into the team, but with time, he molded himself into it. He worked really hard, and I think that's what's paying off right now. His leadership skills are immense. You can see him leading the team well, but that was really uncalled for. Early off, after scoring, you expect your team to do much better. That is where it really counts, and clearly number 4 take a little bit of rest, and that paid off.
Yes, Jayavira will not be happy about that. It's something they've talked about in training, and here is an important scrum for Kingswood to try and put some moral support onto the rest of the team. That was not a good carry. Number 12 getting absolutely smashed there. That was Malik Gay, who ran onto a good ball. And that's a lovely offload from Vimukti. And Hashan unable to get that ball away, finding himself in the outside backs position, but good defence there.
It was a great defence from the inside centre, or number 12, second 5'8", whatever you like to call him. It was a punishing ball. The ball was sort of bobbled as the man came through the centre, and it just set up a huge target for him.
Ball won untidily by Kingswood. They go back to the inside ball taken by Marambage, who started life as a flanker, one would think. And here's it available once again for Kingswood, and that one was put onto the boot by Ranavira. Kutubdeen tidies up well. And Avishka will look for that box kick again. There it is. Might just have overcooked it a little bit. And indeed he has. It's a difficult ground because it is a lot narrower than other grounds. So Avishka will have to get his bearings in quickly. Overcooked the first one, and now the second one as well. So he'll need to make a little bit of a change in his angles.
Let's hope that wasn't a commentator's curse we put on him at the beginning of the game, where he said that was an outstanding part of his play. But he'll just make adjustments. I'm surprised at that, because when you're facing the sideline and you're kicking as you're facing the sideline, normally you've got quite a good, you're able to judge where the sideline is. So he'll make an adjustment, I'm sure.
So not a good line out again by Kingswood. There were a couple of knock-ons there. So the referee actually says it's a crooked throw. So he asks Sabah what he wants, and he very obviously picks the scrum. Joel, 14 and 15 were not good years for Wesley in terms of the Blase Trophy. You ended up on the second best side on both those occasions. So this is a big year for you.
Yeah, quite certainly. A lot is expected from the 2016 team. They look good on paper, but again, as I said, it's about the execution today. 2014 and 15, yes, Kingswood certainly outplayed the Wesleyheads. So Wesley is looking to make the most of it this year, as they look the stronger team on paper.
Referee Rohan Fernando has his arm out for a penalty once again, and I think that's for the Kingswood flanker being unbound. That's the signal that the referee was making. So Avishka under a little bit too much pressure, illegal pressure, and Dore managing to take this ball upfield. Only a 16-year-old, Subair, the fly half. So he's got a big future ahead of him if he can get his knee right. Has a bit of meniscal and ligament problems.
That was a shame the Kingswood scrum decided that they weren't going to scrummage, and they were just going to stand up. And really, that's a coaching point. From a coach's point of view, you want your players to do what's the task that is at hand. And at that point, it was to take the scrum.
And that's not a good throw once again from Amit. Who, a good line out is followed up by not a very good line out, and Wesley take it. Kingswood take it quickly. Nice break through the middle. Good ball from Vijay Surya, acting as scrum half there. Sabah coming straight through the ruck, and that's a little chip kick which is well read by Avishka Hashan. Asanta Hashan, in fact, it was on this right wing side. Danista Gunitilaka takes it into contact, and now Sabah supporting his vice captain. Makes it available, and now quick ball. Dore puts a little chip kick in, but he's put it straight down the throat of the Kingswood winger. And now the follow-up tackle needs to be made, but good work from Seniviratna, who ran that one back into support. And now the number 9, Senan, has an option. 2 men overlap, but the Kingswood team chose to play it, and Ranavira follows the ball, which was bouncing on a knife edge there. Didn't manage to find its way out, and Ranavira was the first one to react, but now it has gone out.
Yeah, it was a wicked angle, the bounce. But, if Kingswood had just lifted their eyes up, they would have seen that the edge there was really close, and it was the actual man that was on the edge came in to charge the kick. If the kicker had taken time and then made one pass, you would have had 2 players there and lots of metres to be made.
It's a better line out from Kingswood, but just a bit of a mistiming in the jump. So Wesley have managed to wrest this one back. Zubair, not a great pass to Gunitilaka, but he finds Avanta out the back door to Kutubdin, but it goes not into the hands. Gunitilaka tidies up. Now he needs some support. And holding on is the call from the ref, and he was a little isolated. The backs not happy about getting involved in the ruck there.
I thought he was a bit fortunate as well. It looked like the man that was coming into the scavenger who was coming in to pilfer the ball looked like he lost his feet. So he might have not been in a position to try and gain the ball either.
Yes, it's such a fine line, isn't it, Paul? The sequence of events at the breakdown, but poetic justice almost, as Asanta Hashan gives it to Kutubdin, who puts it onto a cultured left foot.
Oi.
And the referee will call this one back. I think the player tried to pull himself out of that challenge, but he ended up landing his thigh in the back. That was Ranavira, the try scorer. Landed his thigh in the back of the Kingswood player. But looked like there was no intent there, Paul.
Yeah, it looked like no intent, but it looked like a flying kick. It was a great kick as well, and what they really needed to do was just put their head down and then barrel that guy over. They would have, the ball would have been made available quickly, but it's a penalty, and so Kings would have an opportunity to get into the other half.
So not a great kick, and fielded once again by Asanta Hashan. So second time in a row that Kings would have not been able to find touch. This is Avishka rather. Manages to dance his way into a good position. Went back, says the referee, and now the number 8 comes away with it, Senes Rasika. And there was a foot in touch there. So not great handling by either of the teams.
That's right, there's a lot of energy there and emotion. But I saw that Wesley were bringing a lot of forwards across, and I thought they already had the ball and had it sorted out. So I would have liked to have seen those forwards stay out wide and use them in the next phase, but luckily they were there because they lost the ball anyway.
Yes, it's one of Wesley's issues, I think, that they need to fix before they go into the second round of games in a fortnight's time. This scrum is nowhere near steady, but the ball goes in anyway. And now it comes out the back through Senan, the scrum half, who has no option but to carry it into the heavy forwards. Helping him out is his hooker. That's a good run straight through the middle. Managed to wrong foot the defense there with it, Kingswood. And now a lovely long ball. Recovered well by Sirivardhana in the end. Veerasekara takes it into contact, and now the number 19, Nagaravatta, Sirivardhana. Here's some space now for Kingswood, the number 8. That's a good ball out to the side to Marambage on the wing. Gunatilaka makes a decent tackle. And Kingswood now getting a little bit of momentum. Vijay Surya barreling his way forward, the big man. And the referee says holding on. So good scavenging work from Wesley in the end. But Kingswood coming back into this game, Joel.
Yeah, we can see a little bit of momentum shift. Wesley, right in the beginning, playing quite well, but now a little bit of mistakes creeping into the game, and that's being really costly for Wesley. They're losing a lot of possession. They've been playing in their own half for quite a while now, so it's about time that then the fly half puts the ball into touch and you get some clear ball and try to play a territorial game where you try to shift your game to the opponent's half.
Do you agree, Paul? Do they need to change anything at all?
Oh, they need to work on their discipline for sure. They've just given away 2 penalties before that, although Kingswood didn't take advantage and missed touch twice, but Kingswood did have the momentum there for a while, and if they made those kicks they would have had more momentum and we could have seen some points.
News coming in from Pallekele is that Royal are leading by 10 points to 5, which means that they're leading by 10 points in the encounter. Sasika Ashan using his long arms to good effect there, managing to pluck that ball out of the air. Dore waits and puts high up and under in. Who wants this one? Well taken by Marambage, and a good tackle made in the end as well by Dias. Had to be made. And that's a decent enough kick to be chased back by Sasika Ashan, but the ball beats him into touch. Seniviratna at fly half spotted the space. Hashan had chased that one up, Asanta Hashan that was. So where he was, there was a little bit of space and was well spotted by Seniviratna. So a canny Kingswood team, and judging by the way their jersey numbers are played, Paul, they're a very versatile team. They can look like they can play anywhere.
That's right, and it looked like at the beginning of the game, the open side flanker that was the first one to get back and try and recover the kick is because he's actually the winger.
Dore gives the inside ball to Jayavira. That was a lovely ball. Now Jayavira needs some support, thinks of going on his own, gets the offload away but not to hand. And Avishka Hassan just couldn't hold on to it. A lovely run by Jayavira. Just needed to give an easy pop pass to the following up triplet. That was Avishka Hassan. And he was in under the posts, but just the last pass letting them down, as has been the case for this Wesley team.
Yeah, all these good moves need to be completed. It needs to be finished. The goal should be to go to the trial, and as we see here, it was just a matter of drawing in and just giving that one pop pass where the pass was not gone to hand. So a little bit of more communication and maybe a bit of better support play could have ended up in a better result for Wesley.
There's a great direct line though from those backs. If they keep running like that, there'll be more breaks.
Well, that was a second row, Paul. Good scrum by Wesley, but Kingswood managed to come out of it. Senan does well to find the numbers, and now they've got a bit of an overlap here. And again, the hands letting Kingswood down. You saw it on the other end of the field as well. The pass going behind the player. And the Kingswoodians in the crowd will be hanging their heads because they got to take these half chances against a bigger, stronger forward pack.
Yeah, when you have the ball out into your backs and you've got a man over, and those passes have got to stick. You know, you've got to make sure that skill execution is practiced Monday to Friday. It's got to be done all week, and from the age of 13 to the age of first 15.
Sashika does well to win that ball, and they drive it forward this time around. Sabah, lovely step off his left foot from Lee Avishka. Now they need a scrum half. Dore deputizes. Danis Gunitilaka draws. Avanta gives it away to Ranavira, who's thrown into touch by a desperate Kingswood defense, but should have done a little better to keep that ball in play and go again.
Well, they actually looked like they were going to go over in the corner. They had an overlap of 5-2. You needed one player to straighten up and then make the pass. So it looked like the outside centre just took the ball into contact, and so when that's going to happen, he just needs to slow his feet down. He doesn't need to go into contact. Slow his feet down, catch and pass. The ball moves across his body quickly, and the player on the outside gets the ball, and he's the one who scores.
Is that something you've noticed, Paul, that support players don't really know how to correct their depth, the depth with which they support at which part of the field?
I have seen that actually. It feels like they can see a gap and they can see a hole or they can see an opportunity, and all of a sudden the adrenaline goes and their pace quickens, and so they believe that what they need to do is go faster. But sometimes, if you're the man who's just transferring the ball, you're the one who needs to go slower. So you just have an opportunity to transfer the ball across.
Don't forget, you can follow us on all these social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, whatever it may be. That line out is overthrown as well from Wesley and from Kingswood rather. And Wesley now through Jayavira, who made that initial break. They've probably want to pick and go here. Good tackle by the Kingswood defense there. The fringe defense has held up so far. Suber to Sabah, his captain. Almost over the line. But the referee says held up. And Sabah thought he had scored, and he would have loved to have finished his Blase Trophy career with a good try. But maybe it'll come later on in the game for the skipper. But for the moment, he's got to make sure that he keeps his team focused and finishes the job that they came into this half to do.
That's right. Excellent patience, though. I thought they kept on pounding away at the line, and it was just that he was held up over the line, but the pressure's still there. They're still 5 metres from the try line with their own scrum.
Sasikashan should really have given the ball, but he's been dragged back 10 metres. Now Avishka waits. Vimukti. He's a good forward runner, this boy, but he goes too laterally and then throws a 50-50 ball. And now Wesley, once again, being their own worst enemies, by just trying to throw it around a little bit too much. Joel, you've been the captain of Wesley before. What do you say in this situation to your team?
I believe that Wesley needs to settle down a little bit more. Still sense of panicking in the team, and I think Zion needs to calm his team down a little and get this set piece right, because this set piece is very important. Wesley having a little bit of a more powerful or in weight, I think they outplay Kingswood, so I think they need to outplay the scrum and try to get the ball back.
Indeed, they need to maintain their composure. Can see Avishka in that number 9 jersey is probably the one who's done that best, which is why he's put his team on the front foot so many times, as Senan waits to feed this Kingswood scrum, which will be under severe pressure. And the referee says there was a hand in there, and that's unforgivable, isn't it, Paul? Because you've got a 5-meter scrum defending. The worst that can happen is you have a 10-meter line out with your own ball. But now they've given Kingswood an opportunity to get out jail free.
That's right. Really, the focus needs to be on, if they're putting the ball in, disrupting their ball. And the best way to disrupt a ball at scrum time is everyone to push as an 8 and make sure that that's what everyone's concentrating on. But I saw there the number 8 had his head up, the number 7 had his head up, and the number 6 had his head up. So it's 3 players that aren't pushing. So I can't understand that thinking. Why are you looking when the ball's going to come into the scrum? It's time to scrummage.
It's a bit of an early lift from Kingswood, so the referee says free kick. That's a bit of a harsh call. Should probably just have allowed play to go on, which we saw Chris Pollock did beautifully for the Crusaders and the Highlanders yesterday. What an entertaining game of rugby, and referees do play their part. Sasikashan takes this quickly. Jayavira with a nice inside ball. Avishka. Here's Sirivardhana, the other second rower. Plenty of carrying in this forward pack. This is Dias. Gets through the gap. Avishka puts it on to Sabar and tries to pop the ball out the back, but instead... Oh, that's a beautiful little step. Kingswood straight down the line. Kutubuddin getting across, just managing to make the tackle. And Kingswood have broken out 60 meters as a result of that Sabah knock-on. And here's Kingswood once again. Now with their tails up, they've got space on the outside. Oh dear, the man loses his foot. That's a shame. That was Seneviratne, but they've still got it. Lovely offload. Beautifully taken by Kingswood. The crowd is on their feet in the Sky Pavilion. And now Kingswood, as if the last 5 minutes never happened for them. Here's some space. Seneviratne now gives it to his big outside centre. Udagala Hitiava. That's the captain. Sirivardhana now comes back, and the referee has awarded the penalty for having your hands on the ground before going for the ball. And Kingswood look like they're going to point to the posts, which is a very good decision.
That's right, they're down here. They've spent a long time on their try line and defending their try line, and they did well to get away with that. A fortunate little kick there off the shin. Looked like he was trying to chip over, but it went directly to his winger, and then a beautiful step and straight down the sideline. He should have looked inside. I thought he might have had a player inside in support, and he might have been able to score a try. And we see a lot quick turnover ball, and that's where a lot of tries are scored.
Yes, that was not good execution from either side eventually, but Wesley, after being camped on the try line, find themselves now defending 10 meters out of their own try line. Joel, a little disappointing from the Wesley team.
I think the Wesleyans have to blame themselves because they have had such good position. After dominating for a few good minutes, all of a sudden you see Kingswood on the other side. So that I think Wesley has to blame themselves for this. Kingswood will gladly take 3 to 5 points at this time, because after trailing and after Wesley dominating the play for so long, they will really take these points as a gift.
Yes, all the play that has happened, 27 minutes into this game, and it's just 7 points to nil. So many line breaks that Wesley have just not been able to convert, and another shoddy line out from Kingswood that really has let them down. And Avishka from the base, that's a better kick, probably his best of the evening, because he didn't have to worry about bouncing it out. Ball set piece is really letting a lot of these schools down.
Yeah, it's like it's like they're not concentrating on the task at hand. I highlighted that at scrum time, where you see players and their heads are up. It looks like their line out execution's not quite right. A lot of tries are scored off broken play and turnover ball, but a lot are taken from set play, and that's an area that you've got to make sure you're going to get the ball from cleanly. Much better.
Yeah, it's a better line out from Kingswood. Sirivardhana doing a little bit of a dummy switch. Richard going in there to clean the ball up, and Senan now does a little snipe almost through the gap, but Gunitalaka gets him, and now that's a lovely offload. Kutubdeen, can he get the... Oh no! Kingswood have dropped it with the try line beckoning, and now Ranavira tries to go on the outside, gets the ball away to Avantha. This is end-to-end hectic stuff. Good thump up the middle from Jayawardena there, the hooker. And Avishka will now put it up high to Richard, who, if he catches and turns towards the try line, has the pace on Kutubdeen, who manages to get back. Desperate stuff from Kingswood, but they still manage to hold on. Even the ref goes down in the melee. Out the back, and that's not a good ball. And Jayavira now will eventually finish what he started a few moments ago. And oh dearie me, either of the teams could have scored. Kingswood dropping the ball with the line absolutely beckoning. And when they look at that, Athar, who dropped the ball there, the number 22, will just rue that for the rest of his life, probably, if they go on to win this game, because it was probably the easiest try he'd ever have scored.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I like what Kingswood are doing at the moment, actually. They're trying to go straight up through the middle, so they're getting a half gap, getting their hands through, and then popping a ball up, and the next man running through the hole is making the big yards, and they almost made it pay off, and then they turn around. They try and throw, it wasn't even a 50-50 ball, I'm not sure what that was. He just flung it out the back, thought it was Sonny Bill Williams, but he wasn't Moneyball Williams at that point. He flew it into no man's land. It bounced up into number 4's hands, and he streaked away and scored an easy try.
Yeah, it was a lucky bounce, and Jayavira wasn't about to let this one go as Avishka adds the extra points. So Kingswood there, just throwing those 50-50 balls, trying to do a little bit of the flashy stuff, Joel, and this is not what they need to do. They're doing the basics right. They need to just keep doing it.
That was really uncalled for. Kingswood on their part should have held on to the ball, got their forwards, get their three-quarters to attack and keep the ball in their possession. I'm pretty sure that the player who offloaded, it was really a 50-50 pass, should have held the ball, should have kept position, but on the other side you see Wesley scoring a 50-60 meter dash and Wesley leading the scoreboard with 14 points to nil.
Yes, Jayavira having a good game with the ball in hand. Made a telling break which couldn't be converted previously, but managed to convert it all himself this time. And Seniviratna will bring it back for Kingswood, who shouldn't be too dismayed by their performance. They're 2 tries down, but a lot of promise. Lovely hanging ball.
Great work.
Oh, beautifully taken there by the number 2. That was Taraka. But unfortunately giving the penalty away.
I do like seeing after a try or after a team's been scored against, see how they react. And it looked like Kingswood were going to come back with a little bit of fire. They sort of had their shoulders slouched, but the kickoff was made and they charged through over the ball, or they were unlucky not to clean out properly and hold on to that ball. And now they've got a defender in their own half again.
Sometimes it's just one mistake too many, isn't it, Paul? Because you want to come back, you will yourself to come back, and then something else happens and the dam breaks. So line out ball for Wesley. Jayawardena with the throw in. He's replaced Amit in the front row today. That's a better line out. And now they'll set up that driving maul, surely. That did so well for them. Dias off the back. And on the fly, Avishka pops this one into the 22 and runs a good angle, forcing a clearance from Kingswood. And now Jayawardena pretty much where he threw the line out in, gives it to Sashikasha and Fernando. Lovely angle from Kutubdeen. Omar Kutubdeen. A beautiful angle. He spotted the gap and it was just popped up nicely for the skipper, the former skipper from the current skipper. And that's the sort of stuff you like to see, Paul. That's a really cultured bit of work there from Kutubdeen.
So that was a Christian Cullen-esque run. He just slipped straight through that gap and ran untouched, but he was running at such pace and at such an acute angle to where everyone else was running. That's the reason why he went straight through that hole. It was a beautiful pass as well. But really, the defensive setup of Kingswood can't really handle that sort of pressure because they don't have enough sweepers coming around. They don't have the players in the right positions who are covering those sort of runs.
So the 2015 and 16 captains combining for that try. What does the 2014 captain have to say about that?
Quite interesting decision from Zion actually. Usually would have someone been expected to go wide because he had numbers, but I think he heard the inside call from Omar Kutubdeen, which he ran a beautiful line, spotted the gap, and he was gone for all money.
That was a super try, and I'm sure he'll feel very good about that when he watches it on the replay as well. Avishka didn't get the conversion over. That's a surprise. He's a bit of an unpredictable player sometimes, and Wesley will be thinking back to their first game against Trinity where they lost by a conversion. And Avishka missed an under the post kick there and against Royal as well, so that's something that he's got to work on.
So let's see how Kingswood react to this. Now they've had 2 quick tries scored against them. What have they got up their sleeve? Great kick-off.
That's well palmed back by Lakita Madhusanka. He's a big lad, Madhusanka, but they need to use him to better effect. Seniviratna takes it off, Siriwardena takes it off his bootlaces. Ranavira, in fact, it was standing at first receiver. And the penalty looks like it's coming because Sabah was all over on all fours there. And straight through the middle goes Kingswood. Lovely offload once again. Vimukti tries to scavenge but has conceded the knock-on. Senan now to Ranavira. And here's Rashid, the man with the pace. Rishad rather. Senan leaves the ball behind, so they do such good work and then cough it up, Kingswood. Here's the number 22 going in to make a difference. Pass to nobody. Seniviratna puts his head down and now that has been stolen. Here's the twins passing to each other. Avishka to Avantha. Should probably have looks outside to Ranavira, and now Avishka tries to get the ball away, but he gets it away only as far as Sirivardhana, the wing three-quarter, who was chasing back, and Avantha now gets the ball away and tries to go under the post, but he's done that illegally. And Sirivardhana got back and saved the day for Kingswood there. But a good advantage played by the referee on both ends of the field there, Paul.
That's right. There was a big hole on the other side of on the edge of Kingswood defence, and one of the twins exploited that and then went through. And he really needed. I thought he needed to pass the ball earlier. There was a lot of space outside, and there was a man there calling for the ball. If I was the winger, I'd be a little bit dark at him for not passing. And then they just. That's an old trick though. If you are the only man coming back, and then you call out for the ball, and you hope that the ball gets passed from the opposition, and you end up catching the ball.
Well, another try goes a-begging, Joel, but they seem to be a little bit more relaxed now.
Wesley coming into the game quite late, but still they're making immense, I think, a great line by the centers, but still had the man outside, could have finished it off for certain, but again another tries go begging, and Wesley have to blame themselves.
I've noticed that Kingswood don't seem to be getting their players up out of the scrums and out of the rucks and mauls and spreading across the line. So they find themselves, even if they do have the ball, by the time they spread it out, they're outnumbered. So there will be 3 attacking 5 or 2 or 3 players, and they're out wide and there's 5 or 6 defenders. So what they need to do is they need to get up a bit quicker. They need their halfback to be telling them what to do, get them up off the ground and then spread out. And that's the reason why there's so many spaces all over the paddock.
Well, that looks like it's Sirivardhana who might be being carried off. Hope it's nothing serious for him. Got back in time to save a try. And it looks like Marambage, who had gone off, not sure whether it was a blood bin, comes back onto the field. Looks like Sirivardhana's last bit of action was to prevent that try being scored. Hope it's just a concussion or nothing more serious than that. Kingswood thumping that one into the crowd, just getting outside their 22, but it was a penalty, so they'll have the line out throw in. And just before half time, if they can get some points on the board, it'll give them some belief. No doubt Motilal Jayatilaka has been working on their conditioning, so there'll be a better second half team than otherwise, but surely they've got to catch the ball first. And that was a bad mistake from Ranavira, who's standing at first receiver more often than not. He's got the fullback's number on his back, but he comes in at first receiver, and that's just not good technique, Paul, trying to catch the ball like you catch an up and under.
Yeah, that's right. And at last they'd gotten some service from their line out. The ball comes out to them. They want to try and do something. And now all they've done is heaped pressure on themselves. You got just over a minute to go in the half, and Wesley are full on in the attack. So we'll see what strike move they have here.
Sasikashan, straight through the gap goes Sasikashan. And it was a forward pass, says the referee. Just don't understand what he tried to do. There was a nice worked move. The number 8 gives it to the 9. And then the 12 draws and gives it back to the 8 coming in on the angle. And Sasika Ashan should just have barreled his way over the line, I thought.
Yeah, the line was beckoning. I'm sure a winger after the game will be telling him how to score tries. But it was a great move.
Yes, when they execute well, Wesley look really good. It's just that execution, the completion. Good work there by Ransika, the number 8 for Kingswood. Senan, right at the back of the line is Ranavira, was it? And so Wesley will have another 5-meter scrum. That's a bad miss. Really bad miss, and that was from Seniviratna.
The forwards won't be thanking their backs for the pressure that they've been put under, that's for sure. So, as I said before, it's scrum time. It's time to scrummage, boys. So, what we want is all 8 of them to try and put pressure on the Wesley pack, and disrupt their ball. That's the only thing they can do here. They put pressure on as soon as the ball comes. Wesley hooker won't be able to push because he'll be hooking for the ball. So it's 8 pushing against 7. It's an opportunity here, and that's how they've got to see it.
Channel 1 ball straight to ThePapare, who tries to go himself. Gets pretty far up there. And Ashan now manages to get over. Sasika Ashan almost got over the line a few seconds ago, and this time he does. And it was good work from Danista Gunitilaga. Good work from the 2 senior men there, Sasika Ashan and Danista Gunitilaga, to make that try. And ThePapare, the fly half, did well to create the space close to the line. And it looks like now they're beginning to come into their own ball.
That's right. They're starting to kick away. They're taking some of their opportunities, but it's excellent play by the forward pack. Firstly, to deliver such clean ball, and then also that's a flanker's job to get up out of that scrum and be one of the first players there. So he's done really well there to make sure that he's available and make amends for that last try that he didn't quite get.
Well, that kick was much better. Striking it very hard and true is Lee Avishka. So you must be much happier now, Joel, seeing the scoreboard. They've left a few tries on the park, but still, it's not a bad place to be. 27 points, 26 points to nil.
Most certainly, Wesley looking like they're coming back to the game, and just before halftime they'll carry the momentum into the dressing room, and that will give them an edge to come back in second half and be even much more stronger to perform much more better. So Wesley looking good. Kingswood on their part will have to score now just before going into the halftime. Points on the board will give them a little bit of momentum as well. So Kingswood keen on getting the ball and scoring from here.
Try scorer Ashan collecting that ball as the rain begins to drop down here on the Royal College Sports Complex. News from the 60-minute mark at Pallakale. Trinity lead by 1 point, 11 points to 10. Ranavira steps outside, tries to get the offload away to the supporting Avanta, but just not able to get that wraparound going. And referee playing advantage, and Kingswood through Senan will put this one in deep. Ranavira has to chase back, and it's a good kick by the Kingswood number 9. And it's half-time, says the referee. So that brings us to an end of the first period of this Blase Trophy encounter. It's 26 points to nil in favour of Wesley, and it could have been double that if they had taken their chances. Kingswood also, even though they haven't scored, have threatened the Wesley line on many an occasion, just not been able to complete the moves that have given them the space. Joel Tilakarathan, the former Wesley captain, in the commentary box with us here on ThePapare.com. Tell us a little bit about how you feel at halftime. Do you think this game is done and dusted now?
Wesley having a little bit of cushion, leading 26 points to nil, but still they cannot rest. I'm pretty sure Coach Jeevan and Coach Amal will give clear instructions. It's a sticking a lot to the basics, and Kingswood on their part have played well. The scoreboard doesn't really depict what exactly went down. I think Kingswood had their moments, they were quite good, but playing on rough patches. At times they played well, but Wesley needs to be a little bit more consistent. I think when they come out of the shed, they will be looking to add a lot more points on the board and make an outwash win.
Paul, Joel and I will be back in just a few moments. Just to remind you that Trinity are leading by 1 point in the Bradby second leg, 11 points to 10 after 60 minutes in Pallekele.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසි පේ ඩයලොග් හඳුනා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසි පේ. දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසෙකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රෑට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අලගත ආදායි.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest for phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ. දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසෙකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රැට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගතය අගයි.
Welcome back to the Royal College Sports Complex. The skies are still overcast, but the downpour has held itself away. And it looks like the Methodist prayers are being answered for both these two teams, and the rain has held off for the moment. And a 26-0 deficit is what Kingswood face as they come back after having faced what would undoubtedly be the inspirational words of Motilal Jayatilaka at half-time. Can they come back into this game? Is a question on everyone's lips, especially the Candy fans. But Wesley will just have to keep doing more of the same, but they will have to start making their tackles before anything else. As Senan fires this one back, Kingswood looking to play with a much bigger depth. And that taken by Avanta Hashan. Subair goes in at fly half. Sabah standing at first receiver. Thump straight down the ground from Lee Avantha. And now forcing the Kingswood fullback to put that into touch. And that's better play from Wesley. Just playing the territorial game, get in the opposition's half and turn the screws.
That's right. That's what their coach, I'd imagine, would have been saying to them, that they just need to play a percentage game, play territory, let's stick to structure, put it out through their backs, get it to the centre, kick to the corners, and just string out the game. They've got to make sure that they don't turn off mentally and believe that they've already won the game, but if they can do that, they should be home.
Joining us in the commentary box, Wesley's captain from a couple of years ago, Joel Tilakaratne. What would the halftime huddle have sounded like, Joel, at this point?
I believe Coach Jeevan must have given very clear instructions. Wesley seemed to play a little wide now, using their forwards a little wide, and we see a replacement fly half coming for Subair. So I think the changes will play a part while we see the rains coming down. So a change of game plans maybe, keep the ball intact a little and then play quite close.
Yes, that might be something that they've prepared for. Walpitagama has come in at replacement fly half, so Subair's game seems like he's still on the pitch, but he seems to be playing at scrum half at the moment in the number 10 jersey. Walpitagama, that's a good pass to Vimukti, who's carried the ball well today. Needs to run himself into support. Subair now. And Walpitagama with a little chip over the top. Not sure that was the best advised. And Kingswood touch it down, but who took it over the line? In fact, it was Kingswood who touched it before it went over. So referee Rohan Fernando will bring them back for the 5-meter scrum. So an early change, especially at fly half. Paul, you think that's tactical?
Oh, it'd have to be an injury, I would imagine, because their halfback he's an excellent exponent of reading the game and also distributing the ball. But was a weird tactic there. Did a little chip kick ahead. It didn't look like the defence was charging up quickly, and you normally expect coaches to have a couple of strike plays when they're in that situation where they've got a set move where there'll be a couple of runners and they'll have a move where they'll know that they're going to score a try, but that one leaves it up to a bit of chance where they just put a chip kick through when the defensive line isn't charging up.
Alta in a little bit of strife for Kingswood, the number 22, but he's back to rejoin the scrum. It looks like he's got a bit of a shoulder problem, the second rower, or the flanker rather. Wesley need to keep this a little bit close, as Joel was saying. Vimukti running at an angle, taking himself away from his defenders. That's a good run from Dias, still going, stays strong on his feet. Subair now, a quick ball to Walpitagama. This is Avantha, reaches over and he scores. So Lee Avantha did well to check his run, dance inside, and reach over to score. Looks like he might have hurt himself in the process as well. They can't afford for both the twins to go off. Lee Avishka is already off, and Subair has gone into scrum half to replace him. And Lee Avantha is very, very slow to get up here. Hopefully Coach Jeevan will be... It looks like it's blood or not. He seems to be walking manfully back, but there seems to be some issue. That's Tariq Jurangpati, another injury casualty on the left of your screen there. Dislocated his shoulder against St. Thomas's and would otherwise have been on the park in at fly half. Instead, Subair has now to take this kick in the absence of Avishka. So how much will the absence of their key player, the twin Lee Avishka, impact this Wesley team? That ball coming straight off the post. So Zubair going close but no cigar. And little Dore will have his work cut out now because he's got to do a lot of running at half back compared to fly half.
Well, that was great patience there by Wesley. They took it out to the out wide, and they didn't try and throw a 50-50 ball when they were out by that corner. They decided to hold on to the ball, come all the way back, and they did well. They had numbers on the left-hand side.
Joel, that was a better try from Wesley this time around. They managed to execute better.
Much better play from the Wesleyads, and now you see Subay coming as the scrum half. It's going to be a lot of responsibility. I believe he might be a little bit more slow to the breakdown point compared to the earlier twin that played, but I think Subay has a lot of responsibility, and the new fly half is a debutant, I believe, and a lot of responsibility on his shoulders as well.
Yes, he came off the bench against St. Thomas's, Walpitagama, but he's a very young guy and got a lot of potential according to coach Gunathilaka, but needs to play with a structure, play with a plan, and maybe not depart from it like he did with that little chip kick. And that's the early push, and referee gives the free kick. They were talking at half-time, Paul, about these scrum offences, a lottery if anything.
Yeah, that's right. They're the dark arts, but that's a great little scavenging play there.
Beautifully turned over there, and that was Sirivardhana who came away with it. His captain Sabar is on his toes. And that was a bad pass from Zubair to Jayavira. Was well behind the second rower who desperately wanted it in front of him. Madhusanka puts this one back. Skillful bit of play there from Madhusanka. Realized his support was nowhere near him, and Kingswood, although they're going back, have managed to hold on to it, and that's a good play from Kingswood, going very deep from the breakdown and using the space to drill the ball down the field and play some territory.
It's real helter-skelter stuff, isn't it? It doesn't seem to be any structure in Kingswood's play, and they seem to be scattered all over the field, and that's why the player was in the pocket and just put it straight back towards him, and his only option there really was to kick. But the Wesley forwards, really, they look like they've got some intent now. Their tails are up, they're 31 points up, and every time they carry the ball, they look like they're going to go and score a try.
Yes, as Joel was saying at halftime, it looks like the impending rain would mean that Wesley changed their game plan a little, played a little closer, tighter. Sasika Shand as well in the line out again. That's a nice flat ball. Breaking through was Lee Avantha Hassan rather. And again that 50-50 ball just letting them down. 2 knock forwards, and the referee will bring it back for the first one. Avantha Hassan, who tried to throw that pass after he'd got over the gain line. Joel, this is something that's really frustrating, isn't it? They're getting over the gain line and they're just giving the ball away.
Quite true, Shanaka. You see a lot of Wesleyads breaking the line, and then they tend to do the offload. I think this comes from a lot of Super Rugby, a lot of international rugby these players have been watching. They try to offload the ball just before going to the ground, but doesn't seem to be paying off, especially with the conditions. The supporting player comes at sometimes a very high pace, and with the conditions, the wet ball is quite hard to grasp. So I think that is the problem here. Western needs to keep the ball on their part, and you see the scrum half coming back to play, and the Subair will be moving back to his traditional position of fly half.
So it looks like it was a blood injury, Paul, which I'm sure all the Wesley supporters will be very happy about.
Subair does have a nice left-handed pass though. He looks good.
Coming away was that from Rasika, was off the back of that Kingswood scrum. We haven't seen much of him today, the number 8. He's stockily built, but a real powerhouse player, Senan. Here's Kingswood trying to keep the ball, and that was Jayavira who stole it. but the referee says that there was an entry from the side. And here's Vijay Surya, the big prop forward. Sirivardhana brings him down after he's conceded a few meters. And a nice switch back inside to Rasika. And now coming away with it again is Jayavira, who did outstandingly well. Superb little bit of hands there to Avantha, who might have thought about running it, but instead decided for the safety first option, which is not a bad thing. And gains 40 meters for his team. So really good work on the ground, the jackling as they call it. Close quarters, Paul, really saving their team.
Yeah, and the reason why they're able to do that is because they've got their chin up and their head up. So they're looking at the options and they're looking at the threats, and they can see what's ahead of them, and they can see when the ball's available. Not only does it mean you can see the ball's available, but your body position is in such a way that you're a bit safer than if your head's down. You can see when threats are coming through.
Oh, that's really unfortunate for Kingswood. There was a beautifully won line out, but unfortunately the knock forward from the scrum half has meant that they considered an offside play. Here's Zayan Sabar going off on a run. The skipper's all on his own. Beautifully done from this captain. Gunatilaka now to Kutubdeen, leaves it behind Ranavira, but the referee will bring it back for the knock forward. And we've got some real drama happening here in Pallekele. It's 18-10 in favor of Trinity College, who have managed to claw their way back into this Bradby Shield and lead by 3 points. And it's the last minute of play, and the Royal fans are hoping for some miracle, and this Royal pack have a line out coming, so anything could happen here. But at the Royal College Sports Complex, which is their home, of course, Wesley are well in command here at 31 points to nil. And that was beautifully done by the Wesley pack, just walked right over that ball. Gunatilaka puts a little chip grubber through, but it's gone. Oh, it's just gone into touch this side of the corner flag, so that's a 5-meter line out that Kingswood will have to defend. So not sure about this option taking, Joel. They should probably just keep it a little closer, a little tighter. They're getting carried away again.
I think the scoreline is the main reason they're getting carried away. They're finding themselves a little comfortable, trying some things that I'm pretty sure the coach must have not instructed. If they had kept the ball in hand, it would have been a much different story. But Dennis Gunatilaka opting to take that option of the grabber, and it's a 50-50. It could pay off if they can manage to pull this line out back. But apart from that, I totally believe that they should have kept the ball in hand.
Your thoughts, Paul?
Well, look, you teach the players to read what's in front of them, and if they can see space and see where the space is, and it's a kick that's needed, then that's what they put.
And that's a try. The referee was on his backside, but he still managed to get up and signal it. That was Subair. The ball bouncing off the back of that line out, and poor old Subair has scored the try but got a kick to his head as a result. And his teammates will say it doesn't matter, it's just a head, mate. But it looks like there's a little bit of strife. So all the try scorers looking like they're having a few problems for Wesley. Avantha scored the last one.
Yeah, so he'll have to go to the side of the field and have a little test, and he looks a little bit groggy, but it looks like everyone who scores a try is cops an injury. So, but that was another run. It was a scrappy line out. The ball was bouncing around, it bobbled around, and it came free, and he got to the ball early. But really, when the ball is overthrown like that, the one who gets the ball is the one who has the most desire, and that's where you see the player who wants the ball, and he gives everything to get the ball, and Wesley got it again.
Savishka back to his usual kicking duties, but looks like the blow to the head has not helped with the accuracy. That one is probably his worst kick of the evening, apart from the under the posts one. He's Looking a little worse for wear, little Lee Avishka. Significant limp while he's jogging back there, so question remains whether Coach Gunatilaka will opt to take him off and rest him. But there's a couple of weeks left before the next round where they take on Isipatana. This is a good cushion and a good win. I think it will probably be before Isipatana, but now that this game is done and dusted, Joel, there's the business of the league to think about.
Second round is going to be much tough with the likes of Isipatana and St. Peter's to be played, and I think Wesley needs to go back to the drawing board and start from the base. They really need to work on their set pieces, and also they need to get their team all together, or the players who have caught an injury needs to get back to training, and it's going to be a few weeks of hard training, and then it's a matter of playing on the day.
The news is that the scores are even at the end of 160 minutes of rugby, which means that Royal will probably keep the shield because they win, and so a 5-point win for Royal. Avishka has gone to the bench. Valpitagama has come in, and Zubair, that's a lovely little burst through the middle from Danista Gunitilaka, finds Dias in support, and now that's quick ball from, it's a knock forward anyway. Yes, Danista Gunitilaka, one of his trademarks is that he's a very unselfish player, very unselfish human being as well, plays a lot for the team, so doesn't look to probably make as many yards as some other players might look, but as you say, Paul, that might hold him back a little bit in just creating things for the rest of his team. Zubair does well to snag Senan there. He's been under a lot of strife, the little scrum half and the number 8. And again, a little bit of a juggle, but managed to hold on to the ball was the Kingswood player. And Senan now with a little bit of depth for his team. That's a lovely little swerve. Beautifully done by Seneviratna. Good tackle. And now they need to make this one count. Kingswood squeezing that ball out and now managing to retain possession. It's untidy, but it's still there. Vijay Surya tries to bump off Jayawardena. Senan again. Little switch. That's a nice ball over the top. Beautiful ball, in fact. Marambage. And Zubair does well. But the referee says no, he doesn't. The ball was not out of the ruck. Zubair read that wrong. Thought he was. Paul, it's difficult for us to tell from this angle, but looked 50-50.
Well, if it looks 50-50, the thing to do is to ask the ref, is the ball out, ref? And he'll always give you a quick answer. Generally, it's not, but generally most opposition halfbacks think it is, and they need to go early as early as they can. But it was good, enterprising play there by Kingswood. They're running a direct line as well. They're taking a leaf out of Wesley's book and carting the ball straight up. But I noticed they're putting too many numbers into the breakdown, and the balls. That's why the ball's coming out a little bit messily. They just need to control their ball placement, and then control the first and second person to go in. Then they won't need to put so many numbers into the breakdown, and then they'll have more players to attack with.
Ekanayaka looks like he's okay for Kingswood. Referee just having a little check on him. And yes, Paul, let's see what Kingswood can do here. They're using Vijay Surya as a battering ram, the big prop. And once again, piling everyone into the same breakdown. And the ball bouncing about all over the place, hitting bodies, hitting feet. Senan, that's a ball over the top of everyone. And Ulagitiava, the skipper, trying to take on Wesley physically, where they have been dominated. And just not enough of a structure, Paul, in the sense that they're not running any pods, they're not changing the point of attack when they've got the ball with the forwards. It's all very messy.
It's almost like they don't have their leaders out there. They need a leader in the backs to be directing play, and often the ball's going behind, and like just then. And their forwards, it's almost like they don't have a game plan that or a pattern of play. So they go into one ruck, and then they know what's coming into the next ruck, into the next ruck.
Good collection there from Sasik Ashan, but Wesley will need to try and get a couple more options in the line out available if they need it. Zubair with a nice kick off the back of that scrum. That's beautifully done from the youngster. You can see why he's playing so early in his career in the first 15, especially in a pivotal position like fly half. What do you know about this young guy, Dore, Joel?
He was one of the outstanding players who came off very young age to play for the first 15 squad. I believe he came last year and he performed very well. At a very young age, you see, and his brother who played last year, and then him coming into the squad, he has done a good contribution to the team even at the very young age. He used to play with teams that was much bigger, with opponents that was much bigger than him, and I think he's doing very well for his age.
Once again, that ball goes begging for Kingswood in the line out, and the referee has brought them back for a knock forward. Looked a little bit of a harsh call. It was Jayawardene who was going back after that ball, trying desperately to get to it. All the Wesley forwards are hungry for the ball. Kingswood just have no joy today, Paul.
No, they haven't had the bounce of the ball go their way. They dropped that pass where the line was open. They've had a couple of chances, but they just haven't really taken them. But Wesley have dominated in the way they've run. They've carried really strongly, and they've been led around the park. And the young man Sabir, who we've been talking about, he's having a fantastic game, influencing everything he touches.
Good defense of Serhan. I don't think that was his fault, Paul. I know you hit your head there saying the commentator's curse, but I don't think that was his fault at all. Sasik Ashan was well defended by Senan, the Kingswood scrum half. And now Wesley are using the pick and go. Need to control this and use it to good effect. Here's Jayavira. Ball bounces off the Kingswood defender and not into Kutubdeen's hands. And a knock forward again. Rishad, I think it was on the far side, who managed to get in the way of that. He'd be happy that he's just called a knock on, just like Lima Sopoanga was yesterday when he hit the ball down in what was a 2-on-1 with Israel Dag. He was lucky to stay on the field. Had as guilty a face as I'd ever seen a fly half have when he looked back at the referee at that point. And Zubair, if he gets his knee right in the off-season and works on his conditioning a little bit, has plenty to offer. Lovely ball to Kutubdeen. Steps off the left foot. That's his second try of the game. Dennis Gunitilaka, this is what we were talking about. Does a little curtsy as well. He's got a bit of X factor, this guy. And he's not going to die wandering, Omar Kutubdeen. Beautiful little step off the left. And that was nicely finished, Paul.
Yeah, it was nicely finished, but it was really set up by the scrum as a great platform that they were given. Great pass from the 9 Sabir and the direct lines again. You know, when they're really charging up the inside backs, the defenders have no option but to come up and make a defensive play, and that opens up holes. And Omar just stepped straight through the gap. He got half caught, stepped again, and he was away, and he knows his way to the try line.
You've played a bit of rugby with Omar. It's nice to have a guy who can just do such silken stuff. He's very, very skillful, isn't he?
Omar, in fact, a very unpredictable and very versatile player. He's very good off the feet. It's very hard to defend him taking off the den. And you see, this is what the backs really train for. It's always really nice to see when a plan set moves pays off, and I think the backs can take the credit for that.
Yes, although Kutubdeen did finish it, I think 9, 10 and 12 were all involved. Gunatilaka's pass was beautifully weighted for Kutubdeen to run onto. And Kingswood now have conceded 40-odd points, and you can see the captain, Udugala Hitiava, asking the referee how much time is left, mate. We don't mind going home now. But as Paul said, they have to play for pride, the pride of this Blase trophy. They've held it for 2 years in succession in 14 and 15. And now looks very much like it'll be returning to Wesley College. The ball goes straight into touch of the kickoff.
You might be able to hear the crowd. It sounds like the party's already started. Great for the atmosphere, isn't it? Having musical instruments, and so in New Zealand and Australia, you're not allowed to take a musical instrument into a rugby game, but I love it. Great atmosphere.
So good work from Seneviratne. Shows and goes. And the first couple of phases are always pretty decent from Kingswood. It's after that things go a little haywire. Senan now, lovely pass. The kick from Udugala Hitiava, and that's beautifully taken from Diniru Ranavira. Ranavira now swerves, lovely swerve from Ranavira, looks for the support. Doesn't manage to find it and does a sensible thing by keeping the ball in hand. Shamil Amit is on the park in place of Jayawardena, and that looked like it might be forward. But it isn't, says the referee, and Walpitagama in his first season as a double blue dots the ball down. The assistant referee doesn't have anything to add, and Walpitagama, the youngster who will push Subair all the way for that fly halves jersey, has also got a try to his name.
Yeah, that was excellent play by the 1 to 15. It wasn't outside backs that put him away there. It was his captain, Sabir, and he leant in towards the defender and made the defender come to him. A basic, simple drawn pass, but it's so beautiful to see when he puts a player into space. And it was a really senseless kick from Kingswood, almost directionless. Like the attack came, they put in a kick, a chip kick was taken up, brought back with real venom, and now they find themselves behind the posts.
Yes, it was a real hit and hope sort of kick, and Dineru Ranavira did really well to spark that counter attack. He's an outstanding winger, Gale as he is known in the dressing room. Starik Jurangpati watches on as Subair takes this kick. He'll have a few more Blase Trophy encounters, so he won't worry too much about missing this one, Joel.
Indeed, and it's quite good to see the scoreboard piling up now. Kingswood really have to play for pride. They need to come out. Still, the game is not over. Around 10 minutes to go. They can put on some points on the board, because these are the games you talk about after years to come, and it's important that you put on something that you can talk about.
The Jurangpati brothers also a big part of Wesley Rugby. This is the youngest of the lot. The cousins also all played. Did you play with any of them, Joel?
I played with Ishak Jurampati, who played with us for 2 seasons, the year 2013, where Wesley went on to win the Milo Championship. So yes, Jurampatis have added a lot of flair to the Wesley Rugby.
Kingswood, of course, the glory years back in 2004 and 5, where they fielded some outstanding teams that could probably still beat club teams in Sri Lanka. The likes of Fazil Marijaga and Veeraratne, who have been mainstays for the Sri Lankan setup. Roshan Veeraratne, now the Sri Lankan vice captain. And then, of course, the likes of Navin Vichetunga, Heshan Premaratne, all those lads coming out of Kingswood in the glory years. Their rugby has slipped a little bit, it has to be admitted. But no doubt the tradition of being the first school in Sri Lanka to take up rugby way back in the day will keep the game alive at Kingswood. This is better from them. Now playing with nothing to lose. Atir takes this one forward. Udugala Hitiava, one of his rare touches. That's good play from Kingswood, keeping the ball alive. Now the arriving players are calling for it. Ahit rather. That's just in front of Vijay Surya, but it don't look like he has touched it. Udugala Hitiava, the captain, can't get the ball away. It is a well-timed tackle in the end by Asanta Hashan.
No advantage from the knock-on, so The ref pulls it back, but that was an opportunity there. He didn't need to straighten up, but there were players on the outside, and I thought they had an overlap of maybe 3-1. That's been the day for Kingswood. They're 50 points behind. They've got a 3-1 overlap. They're 25 metres out from the try line, and they can't get the job done.
Wesley are pretty much emptying their bench now. Sashika Ashan takes a well-deserved rest. He's been outstanding in the line-out. Been replaced by Saumya in the second row, and Jayawardena Sabah rather, younger Sabah brother will go to the back. Subair, Walpitagama, Danista Gunatilaka, lovely break from the vice captain. Just trips up over the final challenge, but this is better play from Wesley. Sabar, the lazy runners getting in the way there, but the ref waves on advantage, and this is Ranavira. Dinaru Ranavira looks for the offload, can't find a support player, and good work there by Subair, beautifully done. And the younger Sabar pops the ball in, and that Subair puts it out the back of the hand, flying everywhere, and does he score? Yes, it's a try. Brilliantly finished in the end by Bahadin. Wonderful work there, really skillful bits of play from a lot of players involved, and now Wesley are really coming into their own, Paul.
That's right, they're attacking from everywhere, throwing caution to the wind, and just some beautiful running lines. They're cutting the Kingswood defence to shreds, and also they're offloading and they're drawing and passing is excellent. It looked like Sabir might have been through there, but he just sort of dropped the ball onto the ground, and the ball was bobbling around and bouncing around, but great backing up by the man to come through and score.
I thought the referee did really well to allow that play to go on because it wasn't a knock-on. And a good play from the younger Sabah brother, Dayan Sabah, who managed to support Ranavira on the outside, pick up that quick pass from Subair. And the music stops. I don't know about you, Paul. Maybe it's because I've grown up with it, but I'm not appreciating the ThePapare bands at the rugby matches as much as you do. It's a cacophony of noise. Don't mind them at cricket matches where nothing much happens, but rugby matches are a different kettle of fish. This boy has notched up a couple more points to his name. And as a former captain, it must be nice for you to watch this, Joel, after a couple of years waiting after you all won in 2013. It looks like this is going to be an emphatic win.
Quite certainly, Shanaka. I think more than much as the players, the fans really need this. After two closing games, being on the losing side, this is what Wesley fans have turned up for. They've turned up in numbers, and I'm thinking really it's going to be a quiet party down here.
Very much so. The rest of the party is all happening in Kandy, so Wesley will pretty much have the run of Colombo. They want to get out there and paint the town dark blue and light blue. Got to keep playing till the 80th minute though, because mustn't forget that this is not just another game. This is a game that will be a stepping stone to the rest of their season. Knock forward, says the referee, so he'll bring it back for a scrum.
So now there's an opportunity. It's 57 points. There's 4 minutes to come. It's an opportunity for the team to play some things that they play with at training that in pressure situations you wouldn't go to, but now they can have a bit of fun with the ball. The forwards can do a little sneaky line-out move maybe, or the backs can do an adventurous move, and maybe we might see a little bit of barbarian-style rugby.
Sabah controls at the back, and Walpitagama chooses to put this deep. One area that Wesley need to improve is their kick chase, but that one is not half bad. Swarmed on in like a pack of hyenas, and that was a bit of a scary sight for the Kingswood fullback, Senimiratna. But Kingswood have managed to rescue this ball. But it looks like there's somebody in front of the kicker, so the referee will call them back. No, it was a side entry, so it's actually Kingswood's ball.
It was hard for them not to have side entry because I think there were 5, maybe 6 players there in one line, and really they only needed 1 or 2 guys in there, and everyone else to fan out. But unlucky there, but great pressure.
Well, that's one other aspect that I think both these teams have to work on, Paul, is that they're a little tunnel visioned. Everyone goes in after the ball. Nobody plans for the next phase. So that's something, even though Wesley are winning by almost 60 points, it's something that they share as a problem with Kingswood.
I know that lots of teams look at areas where tries are scored, and lots of tries are scored from turnover ball. So recycling quickly, spreading out, making your own space, and then turning and going forward is an area that lots of teams are looking at, and these two teams can do the same.
Kingswood going to the boot once again, trying to get in the 22 and make something happen. Vitanage trying to put Bahadin into space. And he has Ranavira, but the pass was forward. So Bahadin just delayed it a little bit. But I used to have a coach, Paul, who used to say that if you throw a forward pass, it's only half your fault. It's also the fault of the guy who ran in front of you.
Well, that's very generous. You always want the ball to be hitting in a backwards sort of fashion, but that's the type of champagne rugby, barbarian style rugby I was talking about, where they're behind their own line and they're still running it out. And if the game was on a knife edge, they probably wouldn't do that. The guy would kick out, but now they've got an opportunity to spread the ball wide, and they can take this confidence into the next match. And it's an important thing for Wesley because they've had a couple of close games this season where they've lost by 1 or 2 points, and that can knock their confidence. But now they can take this confidence into the next round.
Rasika can't wait for the ball to come out of the scrum. He breaks on the open side though and doesn't make many yards, but now they come the other way. Seniviratna, nice show of the ball and straight over. So in the final moments, Wesley conceding the first try in the 78th minute. It was scored by Ekanayaka, who suffered an injury a few moments ago, but he ran a good line. And although the number 8 looked to have broken on the wrong side, he drew the numbers, and Wesley will be very disappointed with not keeping a clean sheet, but Kingswood have something that they can take home with them.
That's right. It's not much of a consolation, but it is a consolation, and that's something that Wesley need to work on. They've dominated this match so much, and they let through a try. Their line is crossed in the last minute of the game. That's not, as a coach, you'd just be saying that's not good enough, boys. You know, he's changed the team around. He's brought some new players in, and you can say that that's one of the reasons. And the kick from Kingswood is successful, but really he just waltzed through that hole.
We've got to pick a man of the match, gentlemen. Paul, who do you think your options are?
Well, look, any one of the loose forwards for Wesley could have gotten it. In fact, their captain also had a great game, but I'd give it to the number 10, Sabir. And I think he's influenced the game. He's played out of position for a little bit of time as well, but everything he's touched, he's turned to gold.
What about you, Joel? What are your thoughts on the man of the match?
I personally thought Omar Kutubdin played quite well, deploying a lot of bombs. I mean, a lot of the times that Kingswood broke through, he was the man who stood behind and deployed them. But as Paul suggested, I would go with number 10 as well. He controlled the game and played his part, so I believe our man of the match could be Subair.
Well, it looks like we're unanimous in the commentary box. Subair scored a couple of tries, put some kicks over, been decent in defense, and he's got to the breakdown when he needed to as well, when he moved to scrum half. So Subair is our man of the match at this Blase Trophy encounter. So little Dore has got himself a little plum that he can brag about to his senior players, perhaps, and drag them up with him. Saumya losing that line out, so Jayawardena has been better than Amit in the lineouts. That's something Amit needs to be working on in training, of course. And Kingswood now with thought that the free kick was theirs, but it's not. They'll be looking to score another try after that brilliant conversion as well. Subair now probably knows that it's the last move of the game. And that's the end of the game. So Wesley College have won back the Blase Trophy by a 50-point margin. 57 points to 7 is how it finishes here at the Royal College Sports Complex. And this Wesley team have run up some big scores against some decent opposition, and they've lost some close games with a wafer-thin margin. So going back into the second round of games, they've got a bit to work on, as Joel was talking about earlier in the broadcast. Joel Tilakaratna, tell us what you feel about that result as a Wesleyite.
As a Wesley, it feels immense proud for this moment for Wesley to bring back the Shield 57-7, beating Kingswood. But as I said before, it's a lot of work to be put in before we go to the second round, because a lot more tougher oppositions, games will get much more closer. So it's the preparation weeks that's coming ahead that will really matter for Wesley. But at the end of the day, today they can enjoy, they can celebrate, and the day belongs to Wesley.
Paul, as a coach, how do you address these two teams at the end of this game?
Well, I'd have to say to Kingswood, tomorrow morning we're going to go and do some pretty hard work. I thought they were a little bit disappointing. For Wesley, I think they're a rough diamond. They've got some great players. They've got to work on their structure a little bit more. Probably don't send as many players to rucks and mauls, but when they get their tails up, the forwards look fantastic when they're running forward. Their inside backs run a great, hard, straight line. They control that. They controlled this game. Against tougher opposition, they might struggle a little bit, but I believe that they've got some promise. They're a rough diamond. They just need a bit of polish.
Well, let's see whether that polishing can get done in the next couple of weeks. And this is how the game ended. It's 57 points to 7. Wesley scoring 9 tries, converting 6 of them, and Kingswood just managing to get on the board in the last few moments of the game with a try through Ekanayaka and a conversion as well. Murshid Subair, or Dore as he is known, is our man of the match, and the little scrum half stroke fly half will be very happy with his performance. Lots of good performances coming in from the Wesley team, but given how he influenced those around him, it was very well done by the young fly half. So that brings us to the end of this broadcast of the Blase Trophy, and Zayan Sabah will receive this trophy from the chief guest in a few moments. But from us here at ThePapare.com, in the fading light of this Royal College Sports Complex, it's goodbye from Paul Toya, Joel Tilakaratna, and myself, Shanak Amarasinghe. From ThePapare.com, we're sharing the passion.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසි පේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest for phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ. දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න, ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රැට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගතය ආදායි.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුනා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගානකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසිපේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ. දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ගෙවන්න.